Have you ever agreed to something, only to later wonder why you said yes? Maybe you found yourself apologizing when you weren't even wrong, or buying something you didn't actually need. That strange moment of confusion, that subtle pressure you couldn't quite explain, is often the result of manipulation. And here's the unsettling truth. Manipulation isn't rare. It's not just something used by cult leaders, politicians, or con artists. It's everywhere. It shows up in personal relationships, at work, in politics, in the media, and even in the advertisements you scroll past every single day. This is the world of dark psychology, the study of how human behavior, emotions, and mental shortcuts can be exploited, not to help us, but to control us. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into the hidden world of manipulation. We'll explore where dark psychology comes from, the most common tactics manipulators use, how these tactics show up in everyday life and society, and finally, how you can defend yourself against them. By the end, you'll be able to recognize manipulation the moment it appears, and that awareness alone gives you power. So what exactly is dark psychology? At its core, it's the darker side of human behavior, the ways people use psychological principles to deceive, control, and influence others for selfish gain. Researchers often capture this darkness with what's known as the dark triad, 3 personality traits that, when combined, create individuals highly skilled at manipulation. The first is narcissism. This is more than just vanity or self-confidence. True narcissism is a deep pattern of arrogance, entitlement, and a constant hunger for admiration. Narcissists crave attention like oxygen. They'll exaggerate their achievements, dismiss criticism, and surround themselves with people who validate them. But beneath the surface, their self-esteem is fragile, which makes them even more desperate for control. The second is Machiavellianism. Named after Niccolo Machiavelli, this trait is all about cunning and strategy. Machiavellian personalities view relationships as games to be won. They are calculated, cold, and often manipulative. Where a narcissist might explode with anger when threatened, a Machiavellian will smile, nod, and then quietly move the chess pieces in their favor. And the third is psychopathy. This is perhaps the darkest of the 3. Psychopaths lack empathy, remorse, or guilt. They can charm, manipulate, and deceive without hesitation because they don't feel the emotional brakes that stop most of us. Combine charm with fearlessness and lack of conscience, and you get a dangerous personality who can exploit others with chilling ease. Now, not everyone with these traits becomes a criminal mastermind. In fact, research suggests that milder forms of these traits are spread across society. You might encounter them in a boss, a coworker, a partner, or even a friend. That's what makes dark psychology so important to understand. It's not just about the extremes, it's about the subtle ways these patterns shape our daily lives. Now that we understand the personality roots of manipulation, let's get practical. How do manipulators actually use dark psychology in everyday life? There are countless methods, but 6 of the most common and powerful include gaslighting, love bombing and withdrawal, guilt tripping, framing and reframing, scarcity and urgency, and authority and social proof. Let's go one by one. Gaslighting. Imagine you clearly remember a conversation, but when you bring it up, the other person insists it never happened. They might say, "You're imagining things," or "You're too sensitive." Over time, this makes you doubt your own memory, your perception, even your sanity. Gaslighting is one of the most insidious forms of manipulation because it doesn't just control your behavior, it controls your reality. Love bombing and withdrawal. This tactic often shows up in toxic relationships. At the start, the manipulator overwhelms you with affection, gifts, and attention. They promise the world. You feel special, chosen, even loved on a level you've never experienced before. But once you're hooked, the affection is suddenly withdrawn. You're left chasing the high of that original love, stuck in a cycle of emotional dependency. This is why so many people stay in unhealthy relationships. The intermittent reinforcement keeps them trapped. Guilt tripping. Here's a simple example. You decline to help someone with a favor, and they respond, "Wow, I guess I know where I stand with you." Suddenly you feel selfish, even though your choice was reasonable. Guilt tripping manipulates your natural empathy. Instead of respecting your boundaries, the manipulator punishes you emotionally for having them. Framing and reframing. This is the art of twisting perception. For example, if a boss says, "You're lucky to even have this job," they've reframed exploitation as generosity. Manipulators use framing to downplay their wrongdoing, exaggerate your mistakes, or paint themselves as victims to gain sympathy. Scarcity and urgency. Ever seen a flashing "only two left" message while shopping online? That's scarcity bias. Our brains are wired to value things more when they seem rare or slipping away. Manipulators use this to rush you into decisions, whether it's buying a product, signing a contract, or committing to a relationship before you're ready. Authority and social proof. Humans are social creatures. We're wired to look to leaders and groups for cues on how to behave. Manipulators exploit this by inflating their authority or creating the illusion of consensus. Think about the phrase, "Everyone else is doing it." Even when we know better, the pressure of authority and social proof can override our judgment. Each of these tactics works because they bypass rational thought and go straight to emotion, fear, guilt, desire, or uncertainty. Manipulation on a personal level is damaging, but the scale becomes terrifying when applied to society. Politics. For centuries, leaders have used fear and repetition to control populations. By creating an enemy, real or imagined, they rally people under their banner. Propaganda works not because it's logical, but because it appeals to emotion. Fear of outsiders, pride in one's group, anger at injustice. Once emotions are triggered, rational debate becomes almost impossible. Marketing and advertising. Modern advertising is essentially the study of applied psychology. Companies spend billions not to inform us, but to influence us. They tell us we're not attractive enough, successful enough, or happy enough, but for the price of their product, we could be. That insecurity-driven manipulation works because it preys on universal human desires: belonging, status, love, safety. The workplace. Manipulation can thrive in professional settings too. A toxic boss may control employees with fear, withholding promotions, or pitting workers against each other. Colleagues may compete not with skill, but with subtle psychological games, spreading rumors, claiming credit, or undermining others to gain advantage. Cults. One of the clearest examples of large-scale manipulation is the cult. Whether it's a religious group or a modern influencer cult, the playbook is the same. Isolate followers from outside influences, overwhelm them with love and approval, then replace independent thinking with group obedience. By the time the manipulation is visible, the damage is often already done. When you start to see these patterns, you can't unsee them. They're everywhere. In news headlines, in sales pitches, even in casual conversations. So how do you protect yourself from being manipulated? The first step is recognition. Pay attention to the emotional red flags. Do you suddenly feel guilty, confused, or pressured? Are you being rushed into a decision without time to think? Are you noticing inconsistencies between what someone says and what they do? Awareness breaks the spell. Second, understand your cognitive biases. Authority bias makes us trust people with status. Scarcity bias makes us overvalue things that seem rare. Confirmation bias makes us seek information that agrees with us and ignore what doesn't. Once you know these traps, you're less likely to fall into them. Third, practice the pause and reflect rule. When emotions surge, whether it's fear, guilt, or urgency, do not react immediately. Say to yourself, pause. Give yourself time. Sleep on the decision. A manipulator's greatest weapon is your impulsive reaction. Take that away, and their power shrinks. Fourth, build emotional intelligence. The more you understand your own emotions, the harder it becomes for someone else to weaponize them. Journaling, mindfulness, and honest conversations with trusted friends all strengthen this skill. And finally, set firm boundaries. Boundaries are the walls that protect your mental space. You don't owe anyone instant compliance. Phrases like, "I need time to think about that," or "that doesn't work for me," or "I understand how you feel, but my decision is final." These responses diffuse manipulation without escalating conflict. Manipulation is powerful because it hides in plain sight. It often feels like invisible strings pulling on our emotions and decisions. We don't see it until it's too late. But once you learn the tactics, once you can spot the red flags, you are no longer an easy target. Remember, awareness is your best defense. So I'll leave you with this question. Who in your life might be using these techniques on you? And equally important, are there ways you may have unconsciously used them on others? If this video helped open your eyes, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and let me know in the comments, which manipulation tactic have you encountered most in your own life? For more deep dives into psychology, philosophy, and the hidden forces shaping our minds, subscribe to the Knowledge of Legends, because the best way to defeat dark psychology is to bring it into the light.